channel, the book binging blog ASMR, which seeks to teach literary theory in a soothing manner and a calm transfer of knowledge in face of the tidal wave of information that encompasses us throughout the internet. We will be starting with the narrative structure. I know it sounds a bit intimidating, but I assure you this is not the case. The narrative structure is a literary element, part of the study of narratology. In the study of narratology, there is an element called the narrem. The narrem is the equivalent of the morpheme in morphology. And from a generative linguistics perspective, narration is the projection of a narrem n to the null power, which is the abstract head of a narrative macrostructure where n to the nth power dominates immediately n to the nth power minus 1, according to Whitman 1995. You needn't worry, this is not something we will be studying. We will, however, be starting with basic plots. The opinion regarding the basic plots is somewhat divided. Throughout research, multiple basic plots have been identified. We will be focusing on Kurt Vonnegut's theory called Shape of Stories. In the Shapes of Stories theory, there are 6 basic plots. Apart from Kurt Vonnegut theory, Shapes of Stories, which has 6 basic plots, there is also Christopher Brooker's theory, which has 7 basic plots. There is Ronald Tobias' story, which features 20 basic plots, and there is George Spalti theory, which has 36 basic plots. Kurt Vonnegut suggested his theory as the basis of his thesis for the University of Chicago in the late 40s. He has been denied this thesis, but he eventually made it public anyway. The 6 basic plots are Rags to Riches, which features a raise in happiness. The tragedy plot, the opposite one, also called Riches to Rags, which features a decrease in happiness. The Man in a Hole plot, where the happiness quantification falls and then rises. This only happens once in this plot, because there is also the Icarus plot, where the happiness rises and then falls, again only once. And there are 2 sequential Man in a Hole plots called Cinderella, and Oedipus, where the happiness rises, falls, and then rises, or otherwise falls, rises, and then falls again. These two particular plot shapes are the most popular ones today. Vonnegut's theory has been proven by a study done in 2016 by the University of Vermont and Adelaide. The title of the study is "The Emotional Arcs of Stories are Dominated by 6 Basic Shapes." In this study, the university has made use of 1737 English language works of fiction from Project Gutenberg, spanning from 10,000 words to 200,000 words. They have used a machine that was using an algorithm where individual happiness scores were assigned to more than 10,000 frequently used words. Can you imagine using 10,000 frequently used words and analyzing them? This has been done by crowdsourcing the effort on the website Mechanical Turk, where volunteers had voted on the happiness quantification of the word. The machine eventually determined the emotional arc graphic according to the scores the words received. The 10 words that were the happiest were laughter, happiness, love, happy, laughed, laugh, laughing, excellent, laughs, and joy. Focusing on Kurt Vonnegut's study, I would like to analyze the novel Chocolat by Joanne Harris. I will be making the graphic that Kurt presented when he initially presented his work in a video that is still available online, and I will be linking it in this video's description. From his perspective, there is a fortune or misfortune scale, with the fortune being on top and the misfortune on the bottom. There is also the beginning or end axis, which follows the evolution of the story. Our story will be at the intersection of those two scales, thus showing us the visual evolution of the novel. In the beginning, the misfortunes of Vian Rocher and her daughter are looking up as she moves into the village. Eventually, they meet their future customers as they have to redo the old bakery in order to create their chocolate shop, and they launch it, having it opened on the first Sunday of Lent. That is when Francis Reynaud, which is the town priest they have met before during the carnival that welcomed them to the village, comes and tells them of the dangers of having the shop opened during the first Sunday of Lent. They choose to ignore this and eventually befriend a number of their customers, namely Guillaume and his dog, Josephine Muscat, and Amande Voisin, self-titled witch, which also identifies our heroine, Vianne Rocher, as a witch, and they start building a small community of underdogs. Josephine escapes her husband's tyranny at home, and Armand befriends her nephew Luc, which has been kept away from Armand by her daughter. The priest keeps fighting the presence of Vianne through Caroline Clermont, the daughter of Armand, and the other people of town. A group of gypsies appears in town, and naturally Vianne befriends them. Roux, one of the gypsies, stays behind because his boat was burned, thus making the other gypsies flee. Eventually Caroline comes in and confronts Vianne, asking her to stop feeding her mother Armand chocolate because she is forbidden due to her health issues. Vianne has a chat with Armand, and the latter decides to have a party in the village to celebrate her birthday. This is the climax of the story, and also when Vianne befriends Roux. In the end, Roux joins Josephine in owning and running the cafe her husband had. He is run out of town due to his unfortunate habits of violently interacting with his wife. And the priest decides to take the matter into his own hands as he breaks into the shop and tries to destroy it. Well, namely the chocolates. But he is tempted and he breaks and eats some of them, leading to Vianne finding him asleep in the shop the next morning. Eventually Vianne leads her life and goes on with her daughter because she has defeated her greatest nemesis, the Black Man, which was personified by Francis Raymond. As you can see, due to the rise and fall of the plot, this is a Cinderella kind of story that eventually finishes on a high note. This is also a great manner of visually illustrating the stories for young children, as they can follow the progression of the story quite peacefully in a colorful manner. I hope you enjoyed my short explanation of narrative structure based on the current research. I hope you will be joining me in analyzing future stories through literary theory means. Goodbye.